take everything here with a. This is a crazy story. You know what? Let me see if I can get a video out of this. This is an insane story, if true. Okay, let's do this.
With his worst case yet. Diddy has just been accused of paying police officers and prosecutors to lie on his behalf and get people arrested for false crimes. The Michigan inmate, Derek Lee Cardello Smith, who filed a lawsuit against Diddy, now submitted affidavits from prosecutors, police officers, and more saying that Diddy set him up and put him in prison. Derek Lee Cardello Smith filed a lawsuit against Diddy claiming that he was SA'd by Diddy all the way back in 1997. And in his lawsuit, he was trying to subpoena J-Lo and Kirk Burrows on his behalf, saying that they knew this allegedly happened to him. He was...
Okay, so we know Kirk Burrows and Diddy had a relationship. I don't need to go any further with that. Diddy snaked Kirk Burrows business-wise, but Kirk still went back to Diddy for whatever reason. So we already know that part, but let's continue.
Claiming that J-Lo was a material witness because of her relationship with Diddy from 1999 to 2001, because he is alleging that his essay was recorded, distributed, and held by Diddy at his New York residence. And he was alleging during J-Lo's relationship with Diddy, she was made privy to the video that was taken by Diddy and his employee Kirk Burrows of this essay, which is honestly wild now to bring back up because Kirk Burrows just filed his lawsuit against Diddy like 2 weeks ago, and some of these allegations are kind of similar. And if you think this is crazy, just wait, because it gets a lot crazier. Yesterday, Derek Lee Cardello Smith just filed a new lawsuit with Diddy named in this lawsuit, but it's for habeas corpus. He is alleging that he was falsely imprisoned because of Diddy. He says that Sean Combs framed me, and this is my petition seeking release from custody. He said a Detroit police officer named Nicole Rabber has submitted an affidavit on March 5th of 2025 alleging her role, where she said that she had been working with Sean Combs and she was paid to frame him, and she admitted her role in the form of this affidavit attached. And this is the affidavit from the police officer. She says, "My name is Nicole Rabber and I am an officer who authorized the police report in the city of Detroit on January 13th of 2008 against Derek Lee Cardello Smith, a current prisoner in the Michigan Department of Corrections." And the crazy part is he also has an affidavit from the woman that the police officer is talking about too, saying that she lied and she was also allegedly paid by Diddy to lie. She said, "I was ordered to make a false police report against Mr. Cardello Smith by Sean John Combs, or P. Diddy, Kim Worthy, Wayne County Prosecutor, Suzette Samuels, Assistant Wayne County Prosecutor, Jose Ortiz, a detective at Detroit Police Department. I was paid a total of $132,000 in cash by Sean John Combs to issue the false police report of the kidnapping and SA against Derek Lee Cardello Smith." She said the arrest warrant was paid by her and the others to the judge of the 36th District Court, and he was paid a total of $5,000 for signing the warrant. And she alleges that this judge worked for Diddy and she was connected to him and forced to pay him, and she paid him the money for these warrants that she knew were false at the time. And he adds an affidavit from the woman that these alleged false crimes happened to. "My name is Adria Barmarano, and I state the following is true, and I will attest to them in an open court of law, whether it be criminal or civil. I am the civil complainant in the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Derek."
Yo, do you know how many cases they would have to either reopen or adjudicate? Any case these people have worked on would have to be stricken. You have to let everybody out that got convicted under these people. That is insane. You're talking about possibly thousands of cases between these three people in this affidavit. This is
Lee
crazy.
Cardello Smith with the case number of that case. She said, I lied under oath in the 36th District Court in the Wayne County Circuit Court when I said that Derek Lee Cardello Smith kidnapped me and SA'd me. Purpose of my false testimony in January 2008 and June 2008 is because she was paid by Suzette Samuels, the assistant prosecutor for Wayne County, to lie, which this prosecutor also puts in an affidavit. She said, I was paid $10,000 to say that Cardello Smith kidnapped me and SA'd me, and I was given this money by the Wayne County prosecutor, David Cobb, and the sergeant of the Detroit Police Department. I worked directly for Sean Combs of Bad Boy Records, and I was actually a young victim of Sean Combs, and he SA'd me. She said that Diddy was the one that forced her to lie and say that Derek Lee Cardello Smith SA'd her when he did not. And she said that the Wayne County prosecutor's office who paid her to lie and paid her sister to lie also and say that Derek Lee Cardello Smith SA'd both of them. She alleges that she was paid directly by Diddy in 2007 to bring on SA charges against Derek Lee Cardello Smith. She is alleging that the purpose for bringing on these false charges against Derek Lee Cardello Smith is because Diddy, Dave Cobb, Kyle Worthy, and other people wanted Derek Lee Cardello Smith out of the way because he refused to off somebody for David Cobb. Then it gets even crazier because he also has an affidavit from the prosecutor, Suzette Samuels. She says, my name is Suzette Samuels. I am a lawyer and I am assistant prosecutor attorney for the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office in Detroit, Michigan. I prosecuted Mr. Derek Lee Cardello Smith in the criminal case of the people versus the state of Michigan. Worked directly for Kim Worthy, Wayne County prosecutor, and for...
Do you know how many cases are going to get upended because of this? Holy cow. Holy cow.
Mr. Sean John Combs. The office of the Wayne County prosecutor has framed Mr. Derek Lee Cardello Smith for the crimes of the criminal SA conduct beginning in 1997 and in 2008 and then again in 2019 while he was incarcerated. The person who directed these prosecutions were and still are Mr. Sean John Combs and Kim Worthy, the current Wayne County prosecutor. Diddy and the prosecutor ordered the Detroit Police Department's 9th Circuit to arrest and frame Derek Lee Cardello Smith for multiple SAs that he did not commit. And she said that Diddy and the prosecutor directed her to use her powers at the office as assistant Wayne County prosecutor to falsely charge and convict Mr. Derek Lee Cardello Smith with 6 counts of criminal SA conduct, 2 counts of kidnapping, which I did out of fear for my life, and which I did because I was paid to do so.
What?
But then it gets even crazier because she said she's done this many other times, totaling 128 black male citizens of Detroit, Flint, and other counties in Michigan that were investors of Bad Boy Records prior to 1997. Honestly, this is the craziest case that I've ever heard, and Derek Lee Cardello Smith also added all of these documents to his lawsuit against Diddy as well. But if you guys want to know that everything this prosecutor also had to say, because it's still 2 more pages long, you guys can watch the whole video over.
Okay, so here we go in a nutshell, yo. So Lee Cardello Smith claims Diddy touched him in 97, set him up for a crime to keep him quiet, right, as payback. New lawsuit that Derek alleges that Diddy paid off police officers, detectives, prosecutors to falsify reports, deny motions, and ultimately frame him for SA. Okay. Police officer, detective, prosecutor have reportedly come forward submitting affidavits under penalty of perjury, admitting that they were paid off by Diddy to help orchestrate the setup. Meanwhile, the alleged victim in Derek's case now claims she was paid 10 racks to falsely accuse him, when in reality it was Diddy who allegedly assaulted her. Wow. And here it is here. This was back in November, y'all. So we late. Well, I'm late to this, right? Okay. He's currently serving a sentence on both attacks. Okay. One person deeply involved in all 3 incidents. Her name is Kim Worthy. Worthy is the Wayne County, Michigan prosecutor and elected office akin to a district attorney. In 97, Worthy was a judge. He has police reports, recantations, and an affidavit from a notorious contract killer. All of them suggest that Worthy is a dirty prosecutor who set up Smith and others on false crimes. Worthy's office denied all allegations. Her communications director, Maria Miller, emailed the statement saying, "Here is the only response. This is a completely unfounded claim. No further comment will be made regarding either the matters outside of a court of law. All three incidents will be heard in a court of law." Smith is suing Combs. And both of his guilty pleas are being appealed. So back in 97, former police detective Patrick Jackman wrote, this is his report, describes the aftermath of the alleged attack of Smith by Combs. Smith said too much information from some of the ladies which infuriated Combs, Smith told me. This led to a confrontation. In an attempt to defuse the situation, Combs offered Smith a drink, only it was laced. Smith passed out. Combs, anally attacked him, Smith said, and used a gun to subdue him when Smith woke up in the middle of the attack. Later on that night, Smith sought Combs out, beat him with a tire iron until Worthy appeared. In every police report and affidavit, Worthy is mentioned as saying, "You better not mess with my investment." She then later took custody of the rape kit, Smith said. Likely story, only Smith has affidavits from two fellow prisoners, an upstanding member of the community, and business owner George Preston, Warren Evans, and current Wayne County executive and Robert Ficano, Wayne County government official. All have been submitted to the court where Smith's lawsuit is filed. Holy cow. The allegations in this new filing, like the claim in this lawsuit, are ridiculous and totally false. The notion that some 27 years after the alleged events at issue, and after a court already found his claims unlikely to succeed on the merits. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. So, a key witness who just so happens to be incarcerated in the very same correctional facility in which Mr. Cardello Smith resides in is, to put it charitably, as implausible on its face as Mr. Cardello Smith's allegation that Sean Combs promised to give Mr. Cardello Smith 49% of Mr. Combs' assets in exchange for $150,000. Okay. They're saying it's convenient that Smith got affidavits from two fellow prisoners at the Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility. One of the affidavits was by Aaron Rodgers, who said in this affidavit that he was also set up by Worthy on an attack. Rodgers claimed to have witnessed the attack and the aftermath as well. In the last couple of days, another person has signed a handwritten affidavit, and he is not in jail. His name is George Preston, and he also claims to have witnessed the attack. In Rodgers' affidavit, he claimed that Worthy threatened to set Smith up on 2 attacks when she appeared to defend Combs in 97, and that's exactly what she did, Smith told me. Worse than that, a notorious hitman claims that an investigator in her office worked with a dirty cop to try and kill Smith, and then they set him up on an attack. That hitman is Vincent Smothers. Smothers has killed at least 10 people, including a massacre on Runyon Street in Detroit, September 17, 2007. He and an associate went on into the home of a drug dealer named Big Mike Robinson, and they went in blasting. Only Robinson wasn't the only one. Before the massacre was over, Robinson was one of 4 people dead, including a minor. A few hours after the massacre, a teenager named Devontae Sanford approached the crime scene and made the mistake of telling cops that he knew something about the murder. Hours later, he was tricked into confessing. Bill Proctor currently runs Bill Proctor and Associates, but previously he spent 4 decades in the local news of Detroit. He attended several of Smothers' hearings, and he followed this case closely. Sanford was jailed for 9 years, and Proctor told me that Worthy's office had to be dragged and kicked into finally releasing him. Meanwhile, Smothers was given a deal where he served 50 to 100 years. Michigan has no death penalty, and he pled guilty to 8 murders. He did not plead guilty to any of the murders on Runyon Street because Proctor told me Worthy felt she had the right guy, Sanford, who was in jail. Wow. Let's continue. Worthy even held a press conference the day Sanford was released, still trying to justify her incarceration of him. Smothers generally killed drug dealers like Robinson, but he made at least one exception. On December 26, 2007, he killed Rose Cobb. Smothers was hired by Rose's husband, David Cobb, a dirty Detroit cop. According to Smith, Cobb attempted to hire him first. Smith told me that he was let out of jail in 2007, taking the Cobb who offered to pay him $15,000 to kill his wife. When Smith refused, this turned into a physical altercation. That's when Cobb went to plan B, Smith told me, and he set Smith up on an attack. Okay, Smith said he was out of jail when he met two women. This turned into a threesome in a car before Cobb opened the door and forced Smith to confess at gunpoint to attacking and kidnapping. Smith told me that he planned on calling Cobb as his key witness because he found out that Cobb had been trailing him all night. Except Cobb took himself out, likely because he knew he was about to be arrested for hiring Smothers to kill his wife. At that point, Smith said he took no contest plea in a likely story except the Detroit Police Department made a report confirming this set of events. Kim Worthy's office did not share this with Smith until 2021. By then, he had already pled nolo contendere. Only this is a Brady violation for the U.S. Supreme Court case Brady versus Maryland. Prosecutors, yes, there we go, are required to disclose all exculpatory or evidence which helps the defense evidence with the defense. Wow. Having a dirty cop at the crime scene tainting the investigation is very exculpatory. When Smith asked for an appeals court to overturn his conviction, the shocking ruling acknowledged that Cobb was at the scene, but the court argued this wasn't new information. The court hung its hat on a pretrial statement by the alleged victim only since this order was written. That victim had recanted. In her recantation, she also states that Cobb pressured her into making a statement. What? This leaves no doubt that Worthy's office and Detroit police knew that Cobb had tainted this investigation and that they went forward with the prosecution while hiding this evidence. That's a shocking level of unethical behavior. The Detroit police did not respond to an email for comment. Okay. Smith told me the affidavit has been submitted to the court and he's awaiting a ruling on that. In 2024, the story took another turn. Smothers was housed also at the Ernest Brooks Correctional Facility. He approached Smith. Smith told me with a really crazy story. David Cobb asked Smothers to kill Smith. Smothers procrastinated so much that Cobb stopped waiting and set him up for an attack. Smothers put this shocking story into an affidavit. Smothers said something else very important in the affidavit. He said that at different times he was approached by Cobb and a colleague, Patricia Penman. Penman is currently an investigator in Worthy's office. At the time, she worked for the Dearborn, Michigan Police Department. Dearborn PD declined comment. Besides confirming she once worked for them, Penman asked Smothers to kill Smith, calling it personal. Smith told me he and Penman dated in the early 90s. While in jail for the attack, Smith told me he was set up for another attack in 2019. It allegedly occurred in the 90s. Smith was in another threesome. He told me, just guys, bad looks with threesomes. Only with another guy. Smith was in another threesome. He told me only with another guy and a stripper. Sir, that's a train. That's not a threesome. That's a train. Carly Carpenter. Only Carpenter is her married name. At the time, she was Carly Boyke. The same that Smothers said attended meetings. I reached out to Smothers for comment through JPay, but he did not respond. Bill Proctor was hired by Smith to investigate this matter. He interviewed both Smith and Smothers, and they both repeated the same story I have described. While Carly Carpenter has also recanted, she filed a habeas corpus recanting. In her recantation, she said that she was pressured by the members of Worthy's team to testify. She was paid money, and one of Worthy's team members was Patricia Penman. In previous interviews with me, Carly has also recanted. What? Okay. I know for sure because I spoke with the victims and they said that they were paid to lie by Detective Patricia Penman, deceased Sergeant David Cobb, Gene Deal, former Bad Boys employee, and Kim Worthy. So we finally got his fat ass. So we finally got his stinking ass. Wow. Gene Deal. So once again, I know for sure because I spoke with the victims and they said they were paid to lie by Detective Patricia Penman, deceased Sergeant David Cobb, Gene Deal, and Kim Worthy. Wow. That is insane.